And welcome to the InstantCast presented by the Pewtercast. Man, I am excited to get into this show. This should be one of the more fun episodes we have ever done. This is our post-game call-in show featuring you guys, the Buccaneer fans out there, getting to call in to the show. I will tell you guys the phone line is not open yet, so don't be calling just yet. We are going to get there. I am Brent Allen, your host. I am not here by myself. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Ren, Guy Fox, Dax. How you doing over there, Ren?
Is Jameis Winston trying to make a liar out of me? How do I sound?
A little muffled, but you can sit there for a little. Please don't do that for the whole show. But for those of you in the Mixler area over there, Ren is wearing a Guy Fox mask. If you don't know who that is, Google it.
You should Google it.
Yeah. Ren, explain this. What is this whole? I know we're getting close to Halloween here. November the 5th is right around the corner. Remember, November the 5th. The 5th of November.
Explain what? My Guy Fox mask?
Yeah.
It's Halloween.
Just Halloween? Okay.
And I think it's fitting because
you feel shamed?
Twitter is an anarchy right now.
It is.
So I think that this mask is fitting.
Fair enough. Well, Ren, we got a game to talk about, buddy.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, like I think Jameis Winston is trying to make a liar out of me. I came out and said that he had a really good game, a better game than everyone thought against oh God, who we just lose to? Oh no, we won. The Browns.
Uh-huh.
And then I honestly thought that this type of game was behind Jameis Winston. Like we wouldn't have this type of showing from him, maybe once every 5 years going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I put myself on a limb and told everyone that, Jameis is the future of the Buccaneers. And he did everything he could possibly do to discredit me in that. So thank you. Thank you, Jameis.
It was personal. Right to you, Ren.
Yeah,
Ren stuck his nose out there for me. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it was awfully nice of Jameis to not think of me and my Twitter followings and my DMs and the emails to the show.
So, Ren, I got to ask, has anyone slid up into your DMs and into your mentions today?
No, not really.
Okay.
I mean, a couple people have, but it hasn't been about, aha, told you so.
Uh-huh.
Everyone's sort of respecting my my plea to don't do that because I'm not going to talk with you about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't have a leg to stand on, I put myself out there and I sank,
Mm-hmm.
I Titanicked it, or Jameis Titanicked it for me. So
you're sinking just like our audio is right now for this show. Got a few new people jumping in over to the Mixler feed who can't actually see what's going on. Ren is in a Guy Fox mask over there today, so that is the muffled sound you guys are hearing. I want to say hello, speaking of all of you wonderful folks out there in Mixler land, to everybody who is joining us over there. You are listening to the audio feed live. We've got the chat room going in full effect, so you guys are awesome. See lots of familiar names over there and actually a couple of new names over there, it seems like, as well. Also, want to give a shout out to everybody who is over watching us at the YouTube feed as well. That is rocking and rolling as well. And we will do our best to keep track of what you guys are talking about there in the chat rooms. But, really, those chat rooms are for you guys who join us live. You guys, you guys just have at it. And we'll see what's going on over that as well. So, Ren, we're going to open up the phone line here in just a minute, but kind of a couple of things I just sort of want to lay out here. One, I want to give us a chance just to talk about the game because a lot of times we open up the phone lines early and then we never really get a chance to talk about the game. So I want to do that. But two, this is a call-in show, so we will open the phone lines very, very shortly. I do want to remind everybody this is a PG-13 show. So, do with that what you will. And with that too, on this show, we give you guys a lot of leash and a lot of length to kind of say what you want and, take the call where you want. But, just kind of, if your whole conversation is going to be, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so, I may just cut you off. And especially if you're going to try to go for 10 minutes talking about that without taking a breath. Really, and that's nothing personal. That's just for the sake of the show. So call in. We want to hear from you guys. Add to the discussion of what we're talking about, and bring your own viewpoints. That is certainly welcome. But I just want to put that out there. Now, Ren, you kind of had your little bit about Jameis making you eat your words, but I do want to get your kind of initial instant thoughts on this game. Bucs fell to the Bengals 37-34, I believe was the final score. Bucs were down by like 18 points at the half. Jameis gets benched. Ryan Fitzpatrick comes in. We rally 18 points, tie the game up with 33 seconds left with a great pass dart into OJ Howard as he falls into the end zone, and only to see in that 33 seconds, Andy Dalton and the Cincinnati Bengals march down the other side of the field with enough time to kick a field goal, which is how, most teams should be able to end a game by kicking a field goal. So with that, Ren, I will turn it over to you. Just kind of your initial instant thoughts to this game.
I can really only see two negatives in this game. Well, three, but there's also lots of positives. Obviously, Jameis Winston had a horrific day putting his future as the future starter for the Carolina Panthers game. I know a lot of people with this instant reaction are like, Jameis is not the answer. He was never the answer. And I have nothing to dispute that, except I just don't think it's true. Like, everyone has a crappy game. It was like I've always said, Brent, this Buccaneers offense can overcome anything. That's a little play on words, because last week I was saying I said Jameis Winston can overcome anything, no matter how bad the defense is. If he does throw 2 picks, no matter where on the field, this offense around him can overcome anything. And except for apparently Jameis Winston. I mean, to lose a game on a last-second field goal with 4 turnovers and not getting any yourself, that's it just doesn't happen. Like, those games are blowouts, I thought the defense played well, had a pretty bad second quarter, which you could blame probably half on Jameis Winston and his turnovers. Joe Mixon got loose in the second quarter, but they shut him down in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually made a game of it early, the defense I'm talking about. Started out with a 3-and-out possibly, but the Bucs had a couple of chances offensively to get the ball in the end zone before they were down, 14 points, 17 points on like their third or fourth possession. So I was excited about it. And you just, they found a way to somehow lose. Somehow, even, I thought when he threw James Winston the pick 6, I thought the game was over. I'm like, okay, that's it. Like, the game's over. And then, we see ourselves like, oh my God, touch. Oh, look, 2-point conversion. Okay. And then, like you said, Cincinnati drove down and kicks the winning field goal. I'm not really on the positive of taking away some positive from the game. There are some positive things that were done, but aside from Jameis, on the negative side, the O-line, like what's going on? Like the pass protection, it just seems to be getting worse every single week. Peyton Barber had a good game. We didn't really miss Quan Alexander that much that I could see, on the live viewing. I thought Carlton Davis had a very good game and really competed, because it seemed like he was on AJ Green time after time. I know he wasn't following around, I don't think, but they kept matching him up, and I thought he competed really well. And he didn't really get burned. It took these perfect throws for him to get catches. So overall, it's just a Buccaneers game. Like, now, it's like,
right.
It's like you scored 33 points. Like, you want to give the offense an A. The defense didn't have any points happen had 3 points in the second half. And that was in the last 10 seconds. You want to give the defense an A, but you take the whole game into it. You're just like, they found another way to lose. And this one falls squarely on Jameis Winston's shoulders. Those interceptions were unforgivable.
Yeah. I think we said it sometime last week. Every interception, every turnover has its own story. Sometimes it's the quarterback's fault, sometimes it's not. Every single one of these, I think, were the quarterback's fault. It wasn't like he threw a good pass and then the guy bobbled it or something like that. It was a bad read. And that last one, that last one that went in for a pick six, I think I sent out this as a tweet. I said that might actually be the dumbest decision I have ever seen Jameis Winston make in a game situation. Like that, it was just so egregious in that point. So
wow, you must have missed the second interception then.
was it this? Wait, no, I'm talking. I think it was the last one. I might be wrong.
No, I
might be getting them mixed
I'm telling you, the second one was dumber.
You think so?
Oh yeah,
I'll have to go back and look at them and compare.
Where he did the naked bootleg and Humphreys was sort of like tailing, trying to hide behind the line and squeeze out, and he turns around and there's a defensive end in front of him. Well, first he says he's not going to Humphreys, and the defensive end in front of him, so he kind of freezes, and then he just throws it right to the linebacker, just like he never saw him. Once again, it's like all those interceptions. The first one he overthrew, the one with Cam Brady overthrew, and the other two, it's he never saw those guys, and it's not like they were hidden. You can't blame it on Rojo running the linebacker into your route. You just they were just standing there and just do it right to him.
Right. And, I'll say this too for Jameis with those interceptions. He had those two and they kind of came really quick. And I thought to myself in that moment, and it's kind of what I was alluding to last week, a little bit over the course of the season. Like, if Jameis is good for 2 interceptions a game, but he's also going to turn around and put 33 points up and help lead this team to victory, then so be it. What's not okay, what I'm not down for, is 2 interceptions. Oh, wait, 3 interceptions. Oh, wait, 4 interceptions a game. And by the way, you're not even keeping pace. Oh, by the way, you're turning around and making the defense somewhere in the middle of the second quarter start looking like they're playing in the fourth quarter of the game. Those are the things that have absolutely killed. And I agree with you. I think the loss of this game, and there's plenty of critiques we could make going all the way around from the coaches to the O-line to some people on the defense to some people in other places, but this one falls really on Jameis' shoulders. He deserved to get benched when he got benched, if not sooner. And you're right. The future, his future in Tampa, I think is
don't overreact.
I'm not overreacting. It is.
It's trending the wrong way.
It is, yes, because they're going to give him this season. And I want to save it, and we'll talk about it later. Maybe we'll talk about it in the next show, and I'm sure we'll talk about it in phone lines, which I'm opening up here in just a second. Not just his future as a starter next week, but his future, really going forward, and what is this going to mean? And it's turning into a very interesting storyline, if nothing else. But we're not here to talk about storylines. We're not here to do that. We're here to talk about football and winning football games. And Ren, with that, this is a call-in show. So how about we do it? Why don't we go ahead and open up the phone lines? We'll take some calls. There it is. The phone line is now open. You guys want to call in and talk to us, share your thoughts on the game, share your thoughts on specific players. I'm sure lots of you guys will do that. The phone number is 864-729-BUCS. That's 864-729-2827. Ren's Guy Fawkes mask has broken, so good news. Everybody will be able to hear him. You guys call in. We will take your call. We'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. 864-729-BUCS. That's 864-729-2827. While we wait on that first phone call, Ren, you mentioned it just a minute ago, and I sent out a tweet similar to this mid-game. We'll talk about it here in just a minute. I think I know who this might be. Do what?
I'm surprised you thought you were going to get that out.
I didn't really, but, you got to fill air. Can't have that. You are on the line here with Brent and Ren for the InstantCast. Who do we got here talking to us tonight?
Hey, it's Craig in Vegas. How you guys doing?
Craig in Vegas. Man, I know your number by now, brother. I got it. I need to just save it so I see your name pop up.
And by the way, I'm happy that Ren's mask broke because it was getting annoying just on the audio only. So just my 2 cents.
There you go. Well, Craig, I'd ask how you're doing, but I think I know. So why don't you just let us have it, brother?
But you know what? As we all say, it's a Bucs life, right?
It is a Bucs life.
We're kind of numb to it at this point, unfortunately.
That's not good.
So yeah, I'm gonna save some of the obvious for Winston, but I have 2 other bones to pick today.
Great.
once again, the defense did not get a turnover.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. The last turnover we had was on special teams against the Browns, and we haven't had an interception or fumble since the Pittsburgh game.
Right.
The defense at some point has to give some extra possessions back to this offense. At least once a game. I don't like, and I don't know how it happened again on the last drive, but you do notice numerous times they had linebackers on A.J. Green in coverage, and even on the last drive, that last pass that pretty much set up the last field goal, you had Levante on A.J. Green. That can't be by design. I just can't say that you get in a huddle and go, I think Levante, you should cover A.J. Green instead of a corner. I just don't understand that play as well, too. And we got the 2-point conversion at the end, but once again, the kicker kind of set the tone a little bit with missing that first extra point. So you're chasing almost the whole game. So we did tie it up. Maybe it's a different, I'm not saying that cost us the game, but every game in the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've chased that point the entire game. And if you're going to talk about the Jameis thing, listen, I'm the biggest Jameis fan, but today he had to be benched. And it should have been a little bit earlier in the game as well, too. If you're going to get rid of Jameis, it's easy to say we're going to move on, but you got to have a plan in place as well, too, and what are you going to do? This next draft class does not look that great. Mm-hmm. I think you have to maybe bench him for this year and give him one more try next year. You have picked up the option and see what it plays out. But maybe for now, if Dirk wants to save his job and save the season, you got to ride Fitz until you get put out of playoff contention. But you do need Fitz next week if you want to save the season. Because if you do walk out of Carolina 4-4, with the back half of that schedule, you do have a chance. Not saying you're going to make the playoffs, but you got a better chance at 4-4.
Yeah, I just, I agree with a lot of things you said. The defensive turnovers. I think if we won this game, or Jameis didn't throw 4 picks. At least the turnover battle was even or close, like maybe 2-0. It'd be a bigger talking point, but I'm with you. You're right. Besides that Anthony O'Clair fumble that probably saved the Browns game in overtime for us, we haven't had a turnover since the Pittsburgh game, which was week 3. And that's. I feel like I'm going to be using the words inexcusable a lot, and that's inexcusable. As far as Jameis Winston concerned, I know you said bench him for the year. I just don't.
All right, I said bench him until you're out of playoff contention. Right now, you still can save your season. If you get eliminated from the playoffs, I think at that point you do put him back in because you do have to evaluate and put tape together and see if he's your guy or not.
Right, but I'm at the point now that this offense is doing so well, and it's Dirk Cutter's offense. I mean, they scored 33 points with 4 turnovers and didn't get any back. You know how hard that is? I mean,
they had 576 yards of yards today of offense.
Right.
That's incredible.
So if this keeps happening, and the Bucs end up like 8-8 or 7-9, I still think Dirk Cutter's safe because his side of the ball is flourishing. Like, I know a lot of people don't want to hear this now, and everyone, it's overreaction Sunday and overreaction Sunday night, and I get it, and I'll listen to that. But in my mind, I think Dirk Cutter's like he's pulling, he's carrying his water. It's things that he can't control that are like all those penalties, man. Every penalty seemed to be a killer. How many times did defense jump off sides?
Yeah, like you got to say our D-line coach, who everybody loves, his unit had probably the worst day of anybody today.
Yeah, they didn't get any pressure at all until late in the fourth quarter. You can't pick up a change of
cadence at all.
Yeah, I mean, so it was just, and all these things that are going wrong, and still at the end of the game you were in it, I think says a lot for the offense. I just do. And I think the defense played well enough to win, especially the couple of bad situations. And 7 of those points weren't theirs at all. So it was just,
But Ren, on the defense, did you not see a couple times where we have linebackers covering their number 1 receiver?
Yeah, I saw that.
Especially on the last
true.
drive, you got to play at least. You got to put Carlton Davis on him and hope there. But to have Levante dropping coverage on him, and unless there was a safety that should have been closer to AJ Green on the other side of him, But there's no way Levante should have been in pure coverage, man coverage, against AJ Green. There's no. You can't tell me there's a play in the huddle that says you got to guard him.
You just called it, Craig. There it is. There's the play. No, I'm with you, and I think we'll find out when we get the press conference for Duffner.
Yeah.
What that was. If it was a busted coverage, or what Cincinnati did to make Levante David cover AJ Green, and they didn't recognize it quick enough, or maybe that's what they decided to roll with because of something we don't know. There's got to be an explanation. I think we'll get that. But I disagree with Here's the thing: you said bench Jameis till we're out of the playoffs. So what if we're not out of the playoffs, and then you just sit Winston all the time? Listen, I understand.
Ren, I got a question that I want to follow up on with that, Craig, and I'll get your thoughts on this. The idea of benching Winston until we're out of playoffs, I right now, as of this moment, and this might change later on this week, but right now, I think I agree. I think Fitzpatrick probably would and should start in Carolina next week. But I think we're kind of back to this you ride the hot hand, because what happens when Fitzpatrick goes out next week or maybe the week after and Fitzmagic has expired once again and he has a similar half to what Jameis had today or to what he actually has already shown us this year, which was the Bears game, I think it was.
Yeah. And the first half of the Steelers game. I mean, not to cut you off, but Fitzmagic was this close to throwing 2 picks.
He was. Yes.
I mean, and we would have been like, okay, well, now what do we do? Ryan
Griffin's shooting up next week. So Craig, my question to you is, do you really think that we ride with Fitzpatrick, ride or die, even if he throws 3 or 4 interceptions like we've already seen him do? Or is it we just kind of, it's that hot hand thing? Like, do we just ride him as a hot hand and then switch it back to Jameis? I mean, what are you really saying? We just stay with him until we're out of contention?
I think you got to ride him to the end of the year, especially with the amount of interceptions that Jameis has in the games that he's played. 10 right now. That's a And here's the other thing too. Let's say you get out of next week at 4-4. You've got Washington at home, and I know Washington's playing better, but they're not a juggernaut. Mm-hmm. You have the Giants, which is a team that's really hit the skids. You have the Niners, which if you saw that game today, that might have set football back 5 years. That Niners-Arizona game as well too. And then you've got games that are very winnable in December as well too. And you've got now I think half of your road games will be done after next week as well too, maybe over half as well too. You've still got a chance to salvage the season, to make a run at least have meaningful games. And that's what you're looking for. Meaningful games in December. So I think the way, and also by the body reaction of this team, they got a little energized with Fitz in there. You might have to ride it until you're out of playoff contention. Whether it's hot hand or Fitz is having issues, you got to go with it. And I don't think the Chicago game was all his fault. I mean, that defense was getting torched. Mm-hmm. So I don't think if Fitz could have thrown for 600 yards, I think the Bears might have scored 100 points at that point, the way that defense was playing that day.
All right. Well, Craig, thank you so much for calling in. I tell you what, I'm going to clear this line. We'll let some other people call in. I know we had like 3 people right in a row. I'll try to jump in. Talk to you later this season. All right, Craig?
Thanks, Craig.
All right. Phone line is open. You're welcome to call in 864-729-BUCS. We'll talk about anything you guys want to talk about, as long as it has to do, really with the game or the Buccaneers or I don't know if you like Harry Potter or Star Trek, Ren. Actually, we should talk about anyway. Let's move on. But you guys can call in 864-729-2827. I think there's 2 questions as far as Jameis right now going forward. We'll talk about that. Ooh, a double call in. I'm going to take this one that came in first. You are on the air with Brent and Ren. Who do we got here talking to us tonight?
Well, good evening, gentlemen. Long-time listener, first-time caller here.
Welcome in. What's your name?
I am Jared. I'm calling from Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Hattiesburg, a town no offense, I've never heard of before in my life, but that's cool, man. How did you become a Bucs fan all the way out there in Mississippi?
Yeah, tell the story.
Yeah, so I'm originally born in Central Florida, and I question every day why my dad, as a kid, decided to pick the Bucs as his favorite team. But I was kind of raised rooting for the Bucs as that was my dad's team. And we moved here when I was a little kid, and actually Hattiesburg is where the University of Southern Mississippi is. And
all right,
so,
Todd Monken.
yeah, and DeMar Dotson. So that's how I've kind of been a Bucs fan.
One question before you get to, ask or talk about what you want to talk about. What market are you in? Like, who's like home and away games you get in Hattiesburg, Mississippi?
So we're about an hour and a half from New Orleans, and so
okay.
that is usually that's Saints games.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Jared, what's up?
Well, guys, I hate to sound like a hater, and I've tried to remain as objective as I can, but I just don't think that Jameis is the quarterback for this team moving forward. I mean, I'm not going to say anything that hasn't been said, but basically my feelings come to this is I think two things. One, you have to play the percentages as a football team. You have to give yourself the most opportunity, the most chances to score. And when your quarterback is turning the ball over repeatedly, I mean, you're kind of shooting yourself off in the foot. And second, I work in the business world, and a term we use is the sunk cost fallacy. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it, but basically businesses fail all the time by continuing to put resources into something that has proven time and time again to be not successful. And they don't want to stop because they say, hey, we've already put in all these resources into this. Mm-hmm. We can't pull out now. And I think that's kind of where we're at with Jameis.
Jaron, you know what I call that? You know what I call that in my world? You're pot committed. That's the poker term, right? You're just pot committed. I got to see it all the way out now. I've got so much in it. I don't care. This pair of twos. I'm riding it all the way to the end. Let's go all in, baby.
Hey, exactly. I know a lot of us are also frustrated with our defense. And, I mean, the thing is, this is just the NFL now. I mean, really the only fan base that's happy with their defense is probably Baltimore. I mean, they've held several teams to under 10 points. I think the rest of the league, every fan base is saying, oh, our defense sucks. We need, draft pass rushers and people in the defensive backfield. And while I do think that we do have a need there, I just think, man, we've got to move on from Jameis. And I'm not saying that Fitz is the guy or that this next draft class is the guy. That's just, if I were in charge, that's probably where I'd start.
Jaron, let me ask you.
Jameis, you're just not the guy to lead us going forward.
I was going to say, let me ask you a question. How did you feel about Jameis going into this game? Because I definitely have sensed that Jameis, either people were on the fence about him, or maybe they were with him and they've actually turned against him, or people were already against him and this just kind of solidified it one way or the other. Like, where were you on that spectrum going into the game?
Going into this game, I want to believe in Jameis. I've always, seeing him play at Florida State, I've always just loved his demeanor, how excited he is, how it seems that he enjoys leading. And so this season, I've been disappointed in him, but I've been holding on that maybe this is the week that he gets rid of the ball quicker or learns to throw it away and doesn't try to force things. Going into this game, I was disappointed, but I'm still hoping on. And really, I think a lot of us Bucs fans coming into this season, we thought this was going to be the year for Jameis. I mean, he looked great in the preseason.
Yeah, he did.
And it's like I said, man, it's disappointing that this is his fourth year now as a starter.
Mm-hmm.
Fourth year, yeah, and he's making these same mistakes as a rookie. You guys that are rookies, you would expect them to make the same, hold on to the ball too long, try and force passes. And I just think that in today's NFL, you can't win with the Brett Favre mentality. Yeah, I may turn the ball over a couple times, but I'm still going to score a couple times to kind of offset that offenses today are just so, and the rules benefit the offenses to where the points will pile up, and it's hard every week when you're down 2-3 scores at halftime to come back from that.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's such a Greek tragedy of a season so far, because when the team doesn't turn it over, it seems the defense has given up, 28 points by halftime. And then when, the offense sort of sputters, the defense shows up. Dirk Cutt said it last week. It's like, if we could ever put 4 quarters together, we're going to be, real tough to beat. Every team could probably wants to say that, but you can really see it with this team. Now, I'm going to call it pot committed because I don't know that word you used about putting about the management thing, defunct management or defunct money or something. I think I think you sort of nailed it on the head right now, but I think that you have to use the rest of this year to really know, because this is all in at the final table, and if you win the World Series of Poker bracelet. Like, this is it. Like, you have to make the decision, and you don't have to. They've picked up Jameis's option for $20 million, but that doesn't. They have till May to make that official. Like, to say, oh yeah, we'll pick it up, but they could still unpick it up or drop it by May, and then try to get him to sign a new deal or release him. So there's lots of things in play here. What I'm right there with you. I'm super frustrated with Jameis Winston with his mistakes. I do see improvements, which I'll get to this show. Some of the things I saw that I was really excited about early on in the game that he was doing. But yeah, a game like this was just the worst possible timing to have a game like this. Coming off 2 interceptions in Chicago, 2 interceptions in against Atlanta, 2 interceptions against the Browns. It was the game for him to clean it up and go for no interceptions, and we would have won the game going away with the way the defense played. And it was just the worst possible moment for him. But again, this is it. This is the big payday. And unfortunately, I don't want to bring the T word in as in tanking, because I don't think the teams say they'll be tanking putting Jameis Winston is. You got to play him because you have to see what you have. Now, I understand benching him maybe for the Carolina game. I don't think they're going to, but I can see, all right, sit one game, get your head straight. You thought you were back, but you're not. And then let's roll from there. Because like Craig was saying, these next games, this 8-game stretch is really crucial. I said we had to go 6-2. 5-3 is acceptable, but 6-2 is really where I would like us to be. We're 1-1 right now. We're 1-1. So, we got to go 5-1 in these next 6. So, but yeah, I just, you can't. It's too early to give up on Jameis because what's at stake, and because it's so hard to find that guy. It's so hard to find that guy.
I think what's frustrating to a lot of us, at least for me, is it's not like we have Bruce Gradkowski or Josh Johnson back there. Guys, just weren't good players. With Jameis, like I said, he makes 4 or 5 plays a game where you just go, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And you see what he could be. Mm-hmm. And then, the next play, he throws it right to the linebacker or holds on to the ball for 8-9 seconds, takes a sack that knocks us out of field goal range. That's ultimately where I'm so disappointed in him. I think you're right. I think we kind of have to stick with him to see. And I will say, going back to this sunk cost and this poker theory, I think one of Jason Light's strengths so far has been that he's been able to move on from stuff that he wasn't working. I think a lot of GMs would have stuck with Aguayo or would have stuck with guys that obviously weren't getting the job done. And it'll be interesting to see what he does forward, or if he even gets a chance to make that decision after the season.
It'll certainly be something. But, Jaron, I'm going to go ahead and clear this line and let you go. We'll open it up for other people to call in, okay?
Absolutely. Go Bucs.
Thanks, man. Hopefully we'll hear from you again here in the near future. All right, guys.
Good first
phone line.
call, Jared.
Yeah, thanks so much. Love first callers. Absolutely love first callers. But whether you are a first caller or a multi-time caller, second time, third time, 84th time, Ren, we have done, okay, not 84 of these. We only get 16 of these a year. But you know what I mean. We've done quite a few. So regardless of how many you've called in, let's see who we have here. You are on the line with Brent and Ren for the InstantCast. Who do we got here tonight?
Kyle from Ohio.
Kyle from Ohio. Hey, you told me you were calling in. What's up, buddy?
Yeah. Hey, I actually from listening to the last couple callers and reflecting throughout the day after the loss. My first reaction was cut Jameis, fire him, get him out of there now. I never want to see him again. But I think that might be a little harsh. But I will say today when I was watching Jameis, everything just felt kind of helpless and a little lackluster. And as soon as Fitzmagic, when he is hot, when he is hot, it just you feel something so much more when they're playing. Like, this is the way the offense is supposed to be. But as you guys have said before, he may not always stay hot. And the other thing I want to say is I agree with Ren for the last couple of weeks where if we're not up by 2 scores, we have to go for it, especially when we're 100% for fourth downs for the whole season.
Yeah, I've seen a few things that I've talked about, and I've seen them translated on the field. I'm like, maybe they do listen to the Peter Cast, and one of them is
yes, they do every episode.
But as soon as I said that, every time they've gone across the 50 on fourth down, they've gone for it, and they've made it. Like
they said today on the broadcast, the Buccaneers are the only team in the league that is 100% this season on going for it on fourth down.
Yeah, that's what I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names. Brian?
Kyle,
I'm sorry. That's what Kyle just said. Yeah. Sorry about that, Kyle. So it's yeah. Okay. What else you got, Kyle?
I mean, I also want to say that I think now, unfortunately, we really have to address the offense, and the offense has to get better because the defense, in my opinion, has done a complete 180. The defense is inspiring to watch, in my opinion, now.
I thought the defense looked good. I'm sorry, Brent. Go ahead.
No. I was actually I was getting ready to hear what he was going to say. So go ahead, because I'm curious about the defense. I've certainly got questions.
I'm not going to say pull the total 180. They look so much better because they were so absolutely dreadful. I mean, they used that stat today on the game about how the Bucs are giving up the most touchdowns in red zone defense. Before last week, they were like 96%. They stopped the Browns twice, both on fourth down, I think last week, and that dropped it to 86%, and still last in the league. So, but I like we talked at the beginning of the show that Jameis Winston's arrow is not exactly trending up as far as a lifelong Buccaneer. I think the defense's arrow is, and getting 3 and outs and be able to putting back-to-back multiple stops is a really good place to start to hang your hat. And I agree with also what Craig said, the first caller. Or no, I'm sorry, it was Jared from Mississippi, that this is just the way offenses are. Like I said this last week, if you give up 21 points, I think you've really done a good job on defense. Maybe even 24. Like you've done a great job on defense, the way these offenses are spreading it out and using space and all the rules that are, you can't touch a receiver at all. If you do, it's an automatic first down. Can't touch a quarterback, automatic first down and 15 yards. So I'm not there with you on the defense pulling a 180, but I am pleasantly pleased with what I'm seeing these past 2 weeks.
Yeah. And to what you just said, I watched the Green Bay and Los Angeles game today, and they were saying how the Rams average 400 yards a game in offense. So that just goes to say that, that is the way offense is now.
Yeah. It's you see that across the league. You look across. Just look at the scores of games across the league from the last, what are we now, week 8? Was this week 8, I think? I always get thrown off once we've already had our bye. Week 8. But you look at it, the way the league is set up now, it's all slanted towards the offense. Like if I'm a young player coming in, who would want to be a defensive player in this league right now? Trying to make it in, like that's not where you're going to hang your hat. That's not the big flashy thing. That's just not the way the league is set up for. So you're absolutely right. And here's the thing. I think we had 536 yards of offense today. I feel like that was the stat that I saw out there. It was a lot.
I think it's 586.
586.
Okay. Franchise record.
Yeah, whatever it is, I don't care. Because here's the thing: 508. We talk an awful lot about how many yards we get and this and that. That doesn't necessarily translate to wins. You know, and that's the thing. Like, cool that we got that many yards. Cool that we had all that kind of fun stuff. But if it's not translating to points on the board, if you're throwing interceptions in the end zone, if your defense isn't getting takeaways, and I know you guys are kind of up in the defense, because I was like, when was the last time our defense helped anybody out? And Ren, was it you that was talking about maybe with our last caller, or maybe with Craig? Like, if your defense isn't helping out getting the ball back for your offense every once in a while, that's hard to do too. You know, like, okay, fine, let's give away a couple of turnovers, but let's get some back. You know, at least keep that ratio even, you know? So, yeah, I mean, it makes football more exciting to watch, I guess, you know?
Does it make it more exciting? Are you talking about turnover, or are you talking about the offense?
No, I'm talking about, the offense, the everybody getting all these yards and putting up these big points.
You know, it used to be, you know, for defense, you didn't get all these huge stats, but sort of the trade-off was you got to knock someone's block off. Like, that was the trade-off. Like, I get to light people up, and now you don't even get to do that. So it's like you said, like, what is why would you play defense in anywhere in any league? I'll play center. What are they making now? Like $8 million a year? Like, I can do that. I mean,
Jensen just got 45. Just got 45 for his 4-year deal. So, you know,
I will say we're getting pretty close though, because I also heard another stat that I think they said we're the only team that has all of their receivers have at least 20 catches or something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, they said that during the game. We're the only team that has 4 receivers with 20 or more receptions.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. But there's, you know, those are all nice, well and good. Those are all nice offensive stats. But, you know, at the end of the day, and it's sort of the mantra that now the Bucs are, you know, picking up. You've heard Cutter say it a few times, and Mike Smith even said it once right before he walked out the door, or was escorted out the door, I guess. It's like the only stat that matters is having one more point than the other guy. Like, that's it, you know. Yeah, it helps, you know, to throw for that and have these offensive yards and the receivers doing that and having all these touchdowns. But if your defense is giving up touchdowns, or you just, like, you keep putting defense in bad situations, and, you know, the other team is getting, it feels like they're getting, you know, 3 or 4 more good possessions because you can't hang on to the football. You know, it's just you can't turn the ball over 4 times and not get any back and win a football game. You can't do it.
Yeah. So, Kyle, man, thank you so much for your call, man. I'm going to go ahead and clear this line. We'll let some other people call in tonight. All right.
Yeah, for sure. Go Bucs.
Thanks, Kyle. Hopefully we'll hear from you again here in the future. I'm pretty sure that wasn't Kyle's first time. I feel like we've heard from him before.
I think I heard from him 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I feel like that's about right.
I'm sure we'll get an email clearing it up.
Yeah, Kyle, email us. Let us know. And if you didn't, then tell us how you became a Buccaneers fan. Phone line is open if you guys want to call in. 864-729-2827. That's 864. What's my phone number? I just said it. 864-729-BUCS. That's 864-729-2827. It's coming across my screen right now. On the little scrolling thing, thank you. Shout out to all of our patrons who have joined up and have helped make this fun little YouTube thing possible. So
there's a lot of exclamation points going on in the YouTube chat room, by the way.
There's a lot. You are on the line with Brent and Ren for the InstantCast. Who do we have here tonight?
Hey, fellas, it's your favorite Nodakian.
What is up, Nodakian?
You're from South Dakota, right, Chef?
Yes.
Okay.
Every week, I feel like we go through this.
No, I got it now. He changed his Twitter handle to Nodakian. And at first I thought it was like, you're not a Dakotian, but he's a North Dakotian, Nodakian.
I'm sure this has more to do with Dak Prescott over in that's city.
That's probably
Dallas.
True too.
What is it? What is it, Chef? Am I right, or is it Ren?
If Ren said North Dakota, then he's right.
Yeah, we are hard to follow sometimes. What's up, Chef?
Oh, you know, it's all doom and gloom, and feels like kind of like what Mark Cook stated on one of his podcasts. It feels like it's just buck luck with this team.
There's your favorite phrase, brother.
Oh yeah, that was the my Twitter handle. I've tried to trademark that, but I figured I'll just go with no dacking because that suits me better.
It does suit you better. So, Chef, say something nice. Let's hear it.
Well, as you guys know, I've been a long defendant supporter of Jameis Winston, but games like today, and obviously with this being his fourth year, it comes into question: is Jameis really that guy? I know, Ren, that last week and on your podcast, you went above and beyond, and you put a lot of great details on why Jameis Winston had a lot better game against the Browns than a lot of people think he did. But it's just when you see some of those picks that he did today, it's like, especially with that one where, I'm sure you guys saw where Dotson was throwing his arm into the air while the linebacker, like, it was thrown directly at him.
Yeah.
It's like that pick and that pick six. It makes you wonder if Jameis is, because everybody says he's a huge X's and O's guy. He's incredibly football smart, but it's like when he's on the field, does he go through his progressions? Does he read the defense? It seems like he just locks on one receiver on that one play, and that's it. He doesn't like check who's open or where the coverage is going. It just seems like Jameis just cannot, for whatever reason, stop locking on to one receiver and going with the best receiver that's available. That's, it's just getting to be weird. And I will say this, I don't know what it is, but why do these receivers separate better for Fitzpatrick than they do for Winston? Because I have never seen Mike Evans that wide open for Jameis Winston ever. I mean, he was like 10 or 15 yards away from the next nearest defender.
I want to know because that play, like you're talking about the touchdown run that he had, right?
That 72-yard touchdown pass.
I wonder if that is the most amount of yak he has ever had on any play in his 5 years in the NFL now. Just curious, because I mean, we often talk about how he gets no yak. He gets no yak, which I think is just a funny phrase, but he got some yak today for sure. And for all the drama that went around with Deshaun Jackson and all that before the game, Jameis found a way to hit him on the deep ball, got him in the end zone.
He did,
and he hung on to it, and he hung on to it too. It was like a complete play, like all the way through, in the midst of 4 interceptions and.
Yeah, I think I'm with you, Chef.
Directly on the sideline, it was in the middle of the field that DJax caught that ball. I don't know why Dirk just wants him to go vertical all the time. When DJax, it seems like he's hit best in stride, like going to the middle.
Yeah, comes to mind the first play of the Philly game and that pass to Deshaun Jackson. They look pretty similar as far as him running down the hash mark and throwing it in the middle of the field and just throwing it to a spot in the middle of the field and just letting Deshaun's, speed take over and he can adjust and get the ball and then take it into the house. The biggest problem I saw with Jameis Winston today, and I've only seen the game live, was he didn't reset his feet a lot. Like that last interception, I thought it wasn't an interception. Like when Jameis puts his foot in the ground, winds up and fires one of those things through a keyhole, it's rarely an interception. It's when he is progressing, and he progressed a lot through his reads, Chef. That one, like I said, the one to Humphreys, he never saw the safety collapsing in. He saw the linebacker fall off. He's like, oh, easy first down, boom, and he never saw the safety. But I saw a lot of passes, him throwing with both feet sort of under his shoulders and throwing it that way. As he's, going through his progressions, he's squaring his shoulders and, and bouncing around. And then he would see a guy open and the window's about to close. So he didn't have enough time to realign his feet and then throw it. So he would just throw it from wherever his feet was. That's what happened with the Cam Brate overthrow. a couple, one of the passes that should have been intercepted and wasn't intercepted. Luckily, well, I guess I don't know, luckily or not for Jameis, but that's what I saw early in the game. He was going through his progressions. I even saw him one time look over his shoulder to see where the defensive end was. I used to talk about that cone of silence behind Jameis's head, where like he had no feeling for that backside pressure. He actually checked it in the game. I was like, oh my God, look at that. Jameis checked his cone of silence and then threw a completion. But as the game wore on and the pressure started to get to him and those windows, I don't know if they became tighter, but he was throwing from bad footwork. And I guarantee you're going to hear this at Dirk Conference's press conference tomorrow is bad footwork from Jameis Winston on those interceptions. I will I don't know. I feel like I went on a limb last week. I don't feel like I'm going on a limb this week, but I think that's going to be the buzzword around one Bucks for everyone to excuse this one off. Jameis is starting Carolina. We just got to work on his footwork.
Speaking of Dirk, I have a question for you, Ren.
Sure.
Obviously, you were saying that this offense is extremely fluid. It's obviously probably the best offense this team has ever had. But
yeah,
in your opinion, do you believe Dirk Cutter is a Super Bowl caliber head coach?
Sure. All you got to do is win one, right? I mean, was Doug Peterson a Super Bowl caliber head coach, in his first year? It's Dan Quinn. I mean, all you got to do is go. What do you got to go or you got to win? I mean, you say things like that, and I get what you're saying, but it's not. There's a difference between pro and college. Where college is you only got a few weeks to. You're rebuilding your team every single year. Now I know like 30% of your roster turns over in the pros, but in college it's more like 70% of your roster. So that's when sort of this head coach and coaching really come into play into college. I think any head coach in the NFL can be a Super Bowl head coach is you just have to win it. And it's, it sounds stupid. Like, hey, how do you win the game? Score more points. Oh, I get it. It sounds really dumb, but yeah, I don't think there's anything Cutter's missing from being a Super Bowl winning coach. Like his play calling is fine. His understanding the game is fine. I don't mind his challenges. I don't mind the way he time manages. Like, I like when he goes for on fourth down. I don't disagree with a lot of his decisions. So it's and this is going to sound silly because I've sort of banged on Mike Smith for this stuff and Dirk Cutter, but Dirk Cutter's never thrown an interception in the NFL, man. He's never had a holding penalty on 3rd and 10. So I hear what you're saying. You're asking me like, is Dirk Cutter? You asked me if Dirk Cutter's a good coach. I'm not really sure what you're asking me. I mean, I'm going to go with yes. For what the question you answered me, yes, but I don't. What's the criteria? Name somebody who's not.
I'd say Hugh Jackson.
Well, it's a pretty good. Okay, so it's hard to argue with that one.
but Ren, all Hugh Jackson has to do is win, man. All the Browns got to do is win, and he'll be there, right? I mean, that's kind of Chef. I get what you're asking, and I got to be honest. I had the same question today while watching the game. Like, is he a Super Bowl caliber head coach? The question that really comes to my mind, just very pointedly, is Dirk Cutter the coach who's going to lead us to another Super Bowl? Right, and I had this conversation over sitting with Derek Fournier over at What the Buck. I was sitting in his living room and we were having this conversation one night, and I don't know. What I'm often drawn back to at this point, and this is where I go back to, this was episode 1 of the Pewtercast, maybe episode 2, actually, I think it was. I still ride and I still believe that we should give Dirk Cutter the full run of his 5-year contract. He's on year 3 because it just takes time to move things and develop. And the things that I'm seeing from this team right now, and I'm not down for moral victories. I'm absolutely not down for moral victories. But this team has not been out of a game, except for the Chicago Bears game. this team fights back. This team has not given up on Dirk Cutter, which I think speaks a lot. And I don't know if Dirk Cutter is going to lead us to a Super Bowl or not. But I want to get him to that year 4, to that year 5. And then that's where I want to make the decision whether we keep him or let him go. And honestly, if we've not made the playoffs by his final year of his contract, then yeah, let's go ahead and change the coach. That would make a whole lot of sense to me. But I remind people, go all the way back to the history of our own franchise. It was year 4. I mean, it was the end of season 2 before John McKay won the very first game. It was the year 4. In year 3, it wasn't a great year. It wasn't an amazing year. But year 4, all of a sudden, something turned on, and we went to the NFC Championship that year. You know? And then, curse of, what's his face? Doug Williams, right? That hits, and, we spin out for the next 40 years. Or 25 years. So, but that gives me enough, and I've seen enough to want to keep Dirk Cutter as the head coach. The fact that he went through the process to fire Mike Smith and make a change like that, the fact that he actually did something that I didn't think he was going to do. I did not think he was going to bench Jameis Winston today. Anybody raise your hand in the chat room? Did you think did you think he should? Did you think Dirk Cutter would bench Jameis Winston, even in light of 4 interceptions today? I'd like to hear from you guys in the chat room. Just throw it in, yes or no. I didn't think he was going to do it. Ren, what'd you think?
My hand's up.
Yeah. You thought he was going to bench Jameis?
After the 4th interception, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I mean. I wasn't sure. Okay, I don't want to say I didn't think he was going to. I wasn't sure if he was going to. I was kind of hoping he would, because it was certainly deserved. But, the fact that Cutter shows the ability to make some hard decisions, even if they might be a little bit too late sometimes, or a little bit later than what we would have him do. He shows some flexibility. There's enough for on team. I want to see him get to that 5th year. I want to see what that looks like. And I think he's done enough. I don't think he's not in Dirk Cutter is not in Hugh Jackson territory to me. Is he to you, Chef?
No, I wouldn't say he's in Hugh Jackson territory. And if I could just interject real quick,
sure.
to get my side, anyways. I respect both of your guys' opinion. I love your guys' objectivity. It's, for me, just my feeling, and obviously I've been hating on Dirk Cutter and all that stuff lately. And I will say this: I don't hate him as a human being. I have a problem with his coaching, and
sure.
I'll say why. It's how many times has he, with his play calling, done the same thing over and over again with Deshaun Jackson and expecting a different result? Today was the first time we saw Deshaun Jackson go on a deep route and then go inside the middle, where Jameis seems to be a lot more accurate than on the sideline, than close to the sideline. And especially when Dirk was first hired, I don't know, I'm probably going on a limb, but it seemed like he went more with friendship than best, he went with his friendship with Mike Smith over the best coach available, which at the time was obviously Jim Schwartz. And it seems like it's become to the point where Dirk relies more on trust and all that stuff than he does when it comes to putting the best players on the field. Because, I mean, how many times do we have to see Badenoch get his ass beat? And especially on that one play, I can't remember which quarterback was in there, but I was literally seeing him standing like a statue while either Fitzpatrick or Jameis, whichever one it was trying to get away from all those defenders, and he was standing there like a statue just letting it happen. He didn't try to do a damn thing. And why Dirk Cutter keeps putting him in there, it shows poor coaching to me. I mean, obviously, and I know that Joe Thomas has praised Warhop to all this stuff, but you know what? The results are not speaking for this offensive line right now. I understand Joe Thomas is a Hall of Famer, but his endorsement in Warhop right now is not what is getting the job done for this offensive line. We finally, thankfully, saw Barber actually not tackled behind the line of scrimmage and tackled right when he's about to snap the ball. That was at least a positive to see, and thankfully we saw it. And why I believe I looked up a thing earlier during that game. Jameis Winston had 27 pass attempts, and Peyton Barber had 10 rushing attempts. And Peyton Barber had like 40 yards on a 4.1 average. I don't know why Dirk seems to be allergic to getting Peyton Barber the ball more and helping Jameis out. It seems like he thinks that Jameis's arm is gonna, save him or whatever. If Jameis throws 50 to 60 times, it's gonna save him or something. But we have seen he does not win, or this team cannot win if Jameis throws that many times. And I just don't understand why Dirk cannot see that. I mean, it's just a feeling of mine that I just don't believe in Dirk as a Super Bowl head coach. I mean, I respect your guys' opinion on him, and I can see your sides of it with Dirk. But it's just, to me, I've just seen so much evidence with his game management and all that stuff, and timeouts and all that stuff, that it leads me to believe that he's just not that man. And obviously, I value what you're saying about giving coaches extended period of time, like giving them the full length of their contract. But it just, is it really worth giving the full length of contract to a coach that may not be the right coach in the end?
Yeah, go ahead, Rin. I'll let you answer that.
Well, Chef, you gotta quit saying Dirk Cutter, because Dirk Cutter's not calling the plays. I understand you're down on him. I read your Twitter feed. You're mad at Dirk Cutter. Thank you for saying you value our opinion. I value your opinion too. We're just going to disagree on Dirk Cutter right now about where he's at in his coaching game and what he can do with this team. Now, if every bad play or everything that you don't like about what the offense is doing, such as run imbalance or not getting Deshaun in the right space, you should be saying Monken, not Cutter. I know you have this theory that Dirk Cutter's calling the plays, and you know what? I promise you, I will call into Dirk Cutter's radio show next week and ask him.
Will you do that, please?
Yeah, I've been phrasing this question for 2 weeks, and it's all about how Cutter's mood is too. There's a lot to it to be able to actually get an answer.
You don't want to get Cuttered again, huh?
I don't, but I think I'm gonna have to tell a little fib and tell him that he needs to settle a bet for me. I think that's the best way to go.
Okay.
But
Ren, I bet you $2 and a beer next time I see you that Dirk Cutter is the one calling the plays.
That's not big enough.
I bet you $10. Wait, how much is your bet with Isbits that never got paid up?
$20.
$20. I bet you $20.
No, I think I'm going to tell him.
You don't have to lie.
Pink slips for a week. Like the loser has to take public transportation to work for a week or something.
Ooh. All right. Well, guys, Chef, and I do apologize. I was trying to mute something so I could get Ren in there and wound up dropping your call. So I apologize. Chef, I love you. That was, just trying to figure out how to manage this better. So
I'm getting yelled at in the chat room. We don't know that, Ren. I guess he's not agreeing with that Cutter's calling the plays. It's like, we don't know that.
Yeah, now I want you to ask, because I too wonder, and I mean, we talked about this a little bit last week.
Well, technically, it doesn't matter what Cutter tells him. If Cutter goes, hey, run the ISO left, and Monken goes, hey, Jameis, run, or Fitzpatrick, whatever, goes, hey, run the ISO left, Monken's calling the plays. Like, that's the whole loophole in the question.
Right. I know. No, that's I'm with you on that. But what I want to know, and he may answer, he may not, probably won't. But what I want to know, and what I think Bucs Nation wants to know, what Chef wants to know, and what people there in the chat rooms are wanting to know, and what people listening to this on the podcast feed tomorrow morning or today or this afternoon or whenever you're listening to the show, what we want to know is who's making the call. Not who's calling it in.
But really, why? I mean, I'm going to ask the question because now it's just sort of this thing that I want to get rid of on Twitter. Yeah. But why? The offense had 4 turnovers and put up 33 points.
Exactly.
Like, because that's not the problem. That's not what we need to be looking at.
I'm not saying that it's the problem, though a lot of people would. It's honestly, at this point, it's sheer curiosity. Is Monken still calling the play? Who's going to be the captain, Ren? What's your plan for Jameis and Fitzpatrick, and when are we going to bring Jameis back? It's sheer curiosity of what's actually happening behind the scenes. There are people who still take issue with Dirk Cutter's play calling. So I'm just curious. I'd like to know.
He went all caps on me too.
Do what?
Man, he went all caps on me.
In the chat rooms, yeah.
We don't know that, Ren.
All right, guys. Well, I think we've got room for just one more phone call if anybody wants to call in. There it is.
Oh yeah, sorry for Brent hanging up on you, Chef.
You are on the are you unmuted? You're unmuted. Okay. All right. Thank you for calling the InstantCast. Who do we have here tonight?
It's John. What's up, boys?
Hey, John. What's up, buddy?
John, how you doing?
All right. First of all, I can't remember who said it, but looking at this game, it feels like they retracted back to the old ways. And I know that everybody keeps going and saying it's like a broken record. Well, we looked good at the beginning of the season, and like, what the hell happened, kind of thing. But when I watched this game, by the time we were down what we were at halftime, I got too pissed off. I had to shut the game off for at least a half an hour and come back. And then when I've seen that Fitzpatrick come back in there after watching Jameis being consistent all game long, just about, it just, to me, it bothers me because this is the same. It doesn't matter who's calling the plays. It's the same play caller, the same plays, the same team. Why can Fitzpatrick come in and look like the veteran starter that he is and show the production, but yet Jameis can't? I mean, to me, it's just like
Jameis was. It just he threw interceptions. Like, they were moving the ball.
Still playing like a rookie.
Yeah, there were terrible decisions. His intercepts were indefensible. I get it. You were so mad you turned off the TV. I had to go to my phone, go to the Buccaneers app, pick up the radio feed, and go outside and smoke cigarettes because I had to pace around outside and mumble to myself while I was listening to the game through my headset.
I texted with Ren after the game. Sorry, Ren. I was texting with Ren after the game, and he's like, I can't even go on Twitter until I get something to eat.
Yeah, I couldn't. I can't do it. I'm like, I can't. I'm so hangry right now. Like, I need. And I had a bunch of chicken wings, so I'm good. But yeah, I mean, it's like, don't jump off the ship because of one game. Was the game terrible? Yeah. Was it inexcusable? Yeah. But
I mean, I'm not jumping off anytime soon. But I mean, it's just like, what happened? Why were we playing so good the first 3 games? I mean, I know we lost to Pittsburgh, but I mean, it's like you said, Brent, like, this team's not wanting to just tuck its tail in like it was the last couple of seasons.
Yeah,
just
John.
Give up.
John, actually, I want to
trying to fight for it. I mean, we still have a good record. I mean, it's like Chef, or it was like one of the other ones said, we still have a good shot to make the playoffs, and we're not out of it just yet. But
John, let's revisit that. Let's revisit what you just said there, okay? Because they were saying it on the broadcast. I've seen lots of people on Twitter say it tonight, and you're kind of the first person who's really brought it up. They might have talked about it in the chat room. I'm not sure, but let's revisit that. Okay, first game, lights out, was amazing, right? Against the Saints. Defense, okay, they also allowed 40 points, but still, we put up 48 points. It was a pretty amazing game. Then we go in and we have the Eagles at home, and that was a much tighter game. Right, we kind of like, okay, this might be more reality. What was it, like 28-21, something like that? Wasn't the most amazing game, but it still had a couple of really high flying plays. DJax had that, very first play, and then game 3, and the wheels came off in the first half, and then all of a sudden it picked back up in the second half, right, against the Steelers. So not our best game. Like game 3 wasn't a stellar game. Game 2 was good, wasn't amazing like that first game. Game 4 then comes out, and Fitzpatrick, I keep wanting to remind people, for everybody who says, let's go with Fitzpatrick for the rest, let's bench Jameis and stay with Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick had a first half against the Chicago Bears just like Jameis had a first half today. He threw,
and against the Steelers.
Yeah, exactly. So
he threw, what, 4 interceptions on 4 consecutive passes, or
right,
3?
Right. And then help me remember what Jameis comes in the second half of the Bears, and we didn't really climb back into it that much. Like, I forget exactly how we didn't do much. Okay. So then Jameis is the starter for
Atlanta.
I thought we played pretty we played okay against. This is all starting to run fuzzy in my mind. We played okay against Atlanta, like offense wise, anyway.
Yeah,
Put up
they were up
some
21
okay
nothing
numbers.
early.
Defense couldn't
or not
do
21 nothing, but they put up 21. You used to remember how it
Yeah,
went.
defense couldn't do anything, so Mike Smith gets fired. We come out last week, and offense under Jameis, we get up. How many scores do we get up, Ren? Last week
We
before
got
the fourth
14
quarter,
two different times.
we were 14 two different times, and the defense lets the game back in. We go to overtime, and we barely eke it out. And then in today, Jameis has a really bad first half, and Fitzpatrick comes out and has this amazing second half. Like, here's my thread through that. Just taking this season, Fitzpatrick has not been amazing the entire way through, and Jameis has not been shit the entire way through. It's they kind of have traded back and forth. Is that true? Like, does that ring true with everybody else besides me?
Yeah, I mean, it's just yin and yang. I mean, there's no other way around it.
Right.
I mean, one's good and the other's bad, and it flips.
But I'm just as baffled as you are, John, as to why Jameis can go out and have a incredibly shitty first half, and then Fitzpatrick can come out and have
Fitzpatrick comes in and he brings the team back and almost looks like he did the first couple of weeks.
Right. I mean, because I'm baffled. I don't have an answer for that. I mean, Ren said he doesn't have an answer for that. What Jameis did today, it's indefensible. It's inexcusable, and nobody here is defending him.
Before I get off here, what do you guys think? What if Jameis does just enough? Because I remember them saying his contract is going to be determined by how he plays this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is there a chance that to you guys that okay, we'll pick up your fifth option, but we're only going to re-sign you for 1 year? Give him that extra year. That way it buys them more time to figure it out.
I mean, there's always a chance, right? I don't know that Jameis would accept an offer like that, to be quite honest. I mean, we say what we want, say however he's played. He's still a number 1 draft pick, right? And his agent, and he went out and got one of the better agents out there, from what I understand, this new guy that he's hired. They're going to tout that. Jameis is still probably going to make some money. He's going to make some cheddar wherever he goes. He may have hurt his stock a little bit today. To be honest, at one point today, I was thinking about his agent going, I wonder if his agent just sat there and went, oh, what have I gotten myself into? But I mean, Jameis is still, he's still going to get it, but we'll see. We'll see where they go. I do think, though, and Ren, you tell me what you think. I do think it's incredibly possible that they may not actually re-sign Jameis to a long-term contract until sometime next year during his 5th-year option.
I've said this before. Like, they've picked up the option. We've talked about how it's not necessarily set in May. I think they're going to pick it up no matter what. So he could play all of next year in that 5th-year option, and then you could wait till then to decide and try to negotiate during the season and all those type of things. Mm-hmm. I think at the end of this year, it's going to be obvious to everybody what you should do with Jameis Winston and what his future will be with the Buccaneers. I think by the end of the year, it will be obvious.
I mean, do you still think that he deserves another chance? I mean, would you?
Yeah, he deserves another. He had a terrible game. Like, so what? He had a terrible game. I mean, yeah, it's frustrating and all that kind of. But he had a terrible game. Like, I don't understand this. Like, bench him for the rest of the year. Like, I do, because it's fresh and it's new and the wound still hurts. But like, you sound so depressed. Like, should we give him another chance? They're not making him walk the plank, man. He's gonna be there tomorrow. He'll be there Wednesday. I give it like an 80% chance that he starts in Carolina. That's me personally.
You think you're going to 80% chance Jameis starts?
What?
That's 80%. You say 80% chance Jameis starts in Carolina?
Yeah. Yeah. He had a bad half of football. He had a bad half football and 2 throws. Like, he threw back-to-back interceptions in the second half. Like, threw one, got the ball back, threw it again. So, I mean,
I'm not opposed to what you're saying. I just don't know that I'm that high. Like,
it's okay.
I think I'm maybe 60-40 Fitzpatrick starts. Like, I think I'm a little bit more there.
I got you. I'm about that too.
Yeah.
Like, and people are throwing like all these stats at me. Like, I think like Fitzpatrick and Jameis have only had like 5, like they've had the same amount of throws, except for like it's like the difference between 5. And Fitz's stats are higher in completion rates and obviously touchdowns and lower in interceptions, obviously
Hey,
as well.
I can give you those numbers right now, Ren, because Junior in the YouTube chat room has just put that out there. Jameis has 113 passing attempts compared to Fitz's 129. Fitz has 11 TDs and 5 picks. Jameis has 5 TDs and 11 picks. No, I'm sorry, 6 picks.
Jameis has more than 6 picks. He has 9.
Has 9. Yeah. He has 6 picks in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
Right.
But but none of that matters because you're not going anywhere with your franchise for Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
You're not.
Right.
You're not. You know, like to use sort of like Chef's line, Ryan Fitzpatrick is not a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Could he do something like Foles did and, you know, like catch fire the last couple games and then catch fire in the playoffs and lead you to a Super Bowl? Yeah. Can he play 16 games and then win you like 2-3 playoff games and then win the Super Bowl? He can't. He's too streaky. You know, we know there's still a ceiling with Jameis Winston, and Jameis Winston's ceiling is better than what Fitzpatrick's ceiling is right now. I mean, I get it. You go in there and you got this offense and you're scoring all these points, but don't forget that he almost threw 2 interceptions, how bad he looked against the Steelers when he got pressure in his face, and how bad he looked against Chicago when he got pressure in his face. You know, that's the difference. Even today, when we needed a touchdown and he threw it short to the guy
Godwin?
who I kept Rodgers, you know, and it ended up third down, and they stopped him and they ended up tying up the game. But right when he threw that pass, I went, Jameis would never throw that pass in that situation. He would either run it or he would. But then if they force it and it's a turnover, the game, you know, that's the thing.
Right.
It's like Jameis will get a throw that will get you that first down. Like penalties don't bother me as Jameis' quarterback. Oh, it's 2nd and 20. It doesn't matter. Like did you see that throw he threw to Adam Humphries on 3rd and 13? Like over the linebacker, and it just tipped his fingers, and Humphries stretched out. And then like a couple plays later, it was like 3rd and 10 or something, and he hits Evans on the 1-on-1 down the sidelines. Like those are throws that Humphries throws Fitzpatrick can't make. The one to Evans he can, but it's a really good throw. So I understand, and you're comparing him to Fitzpatrick, who's like 38 and has been in the league for so many years. You know, you're going to pair him to Rodgers, who's like 36 and the best quarterback ever. Brady's 40, Breeze is 40. You know, I understand, like, you know, if you want to pair him to Goff and Mahomes, well, you know, those guys got really good running backs. They got probably the best offensive play callers in the league. And the Rams got, you know, a top 5 defense, if not top 1 defense, and the best defensive coordinator by far the past decade. Like, you got to sort of weigh all these things in it. Yes, Winston's game was terrible, unforgivable. Those interceptions were beyond stupid. But to think like, oh, is he going to get a chance again to play, or if he just like give up on him? No, like you know, yes, I talk about left tackles. They don't grow on trees. You know what else don't grow on trees? Franchise quarterback. Look at Marcus Mariota. The guy can't throw the ball 10 yards down the field now. They can't keep him upright. Like that's not even a conversation anymore. And Winston is stinking it up with his turnovers and costing his team games, and it's still not a conversation. It's. I get the frustration. You want to move on, but just because you want to move on doesn't mean you can. There's it's. You know, I'm gonna pull a Cutter. Okay, we benched Jameis Winston. We got Ryan Fitzpatrick for the rest of the year. It's 2019. Now what? Now what?
You're going to pull Jameis off the bench after sitting for 9 games. That doesn't bode well. Hey, John, I'm sure you've got tons more to say, but, man, I'm going to go ahead and clear this line here. We're actually getting ready to wrap up the show. All right, man?
No problem. See you later, man.
Thanks, John. We'll be talking to you, buddy.
John, I forgot he was on. I'm sorry, John.
You thought you were yelling at me.
I was just talking, you know.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, that is actually gonna do it. I'm gonna go ahead and shut down the phone line because we got to get out of here. We got lots more thoughts. Ren, I do have one question I want to ask you. Just kind of, this is one of those you're gonna call me crazy because I'm gonna say something stupid here. But it's something that comes out of one of the chat rooms over here, talking about the best chance to win. Who gives us the best chance to win? And here's my question. All right, this is the what if. All right. What if your best chance to win?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even going to say this right. What if your best chance to win also happens to be a really good chance to lose?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to say he's the best chance to lose, but like
yeah, you're
I
saying
mean,
it's like your best chance to. You're saying does Jameis's turnovers is it worth? Okay? We'll say we'll just make it numbers. We'll say Fitzpatrick is a 60, Jameis is a 70.
right.
Then you add in turnovers. Where does that put Jameis? Does that drop him to like a 55?
Right.
You know, you're saying
Right.
is Jameis's interceptions that he seems to be in a rut right now, is that worth? And that's the thing. If Jameis just cleans up his interceptions, even to just like 2 a game, like really, it's like that's
because
how
if he didn't
that's
throw
how
those last two, guess what? Probably would have won.
I can't say we win. I mean,
come
I don't
on.
like that timeline
Alternate
stuff.
reality stuff here, Ren. You're in sci-fi.
But it's not like. But after that, he was pulled, so he didn't
Yeah.
never drove the team down. He was driving the team up and down, the field, but he never actually got in the end zone.
Right.
After I guess they got the ball and drove down didn't they the first time they got the ball? Yeah, they did.
Mm-hmm.
Drove him down, got him scored a touchdown. But yeah, that's sort of the rub. Your best chance to win is Jameis Winston, but also it's going to come with sort of a hand grenade that's the pins have pulled.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we've seen where games and long stretches of games where he's put together where the pin never comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And even if the pin does come out, we've seen him be able to rally the team enough to get us into a position to win.
Mm-hmm.
But the defense sort of hasn't been there. Now the defense seems to be at least competing, and he just had a game where the pin fell out.
Yeah.
And I really think the older he gets, this is going to. I understand, like, this is 4th year. What more do you need to see? Well, he has progressed every year in all the major categories, including interceptions.
Yeah.
He only threw 13 last year. He has 9 now. Yeah, not a good look. I get it.
And a lot of football left this season.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're not even halfway through.
Yeah.
Like, we're not halfway through. You go and beat Carolina. We're 4-4. They're 5-3.
I don't know.
Yeah, they'd be 5-3, or no, they'd be 6-3.
Yeah.
No, wait.
I know. As of right now, we're still ahead of Atlanta. Like we're still number 3 in the division, but I think we have finally dropped off or not finally, but we have dropped further down if the season were to end today, like we wouldn't even catch a playoff spot.
I mean, we were 1 game behind the Panthers, and we lost. They won, so number 2 games behind. But if we beat them next week, we're back to the 1 game behind.
Mm-hmm.
It's the season is not even close to being over, but I once again, I get the reaction of like, that was so bad. Like, should you even give him a helmet ever again?
Yeah.
But just like, calm down.
And Ren, what you're talking about right there is the difference between the InstantCast show, which is now coming to a close, and the Final Thoughts show that we are going to have coming up later on this week. So I want to thank everybody who has joined us for tonight's show. We're going to call it a show. There's been so much that we've talked about. It's almost an hour and a half now. But there's lots more to talk about. You know who we didn't talk about is that kicker that will probably not be on the team by the time we get to our Final Thought show, or maybe he will be. I don't know. We didn't
just sign Santos and get it over with.
Please. I was hoping he was just chilling in the locker room. I really, he's going to be in that private dining room in Buccaneer Place this week. Bet money on it if he wasn't already last week. I want to dive more into this. I want to dive more into talking about the defense on our Final Thought show. I really want to go back and look and see, how did they really play? Because Still, in the first half, they allowed, 30 some odd points? 28 points? That's not a good look.
Yeah,
right. Well, 20, actually, I guess it was like 21, right? Because
No, that came in the second half.
Oh, that did? Okay. But whatever. So I want to go back and look a little bit more of how is Mark Duffner's defense doing in week 2 and a little bit of a better offense than what we faced last week in the Browns. And there's lots of other things to get to in our Final Thought show. Plus, just a little bit of preview. Way back in the offseason, I had said I am reserving judgment on our offseason acquisitions until about week 6. Well, that has come and gone. People have called me on it and asked me for that. So we are going to dive into that at some point during our Final Thoughts episode. Go back and take a look at what our off-season acquisitions are. Can't wait to get into that. If you guys want to send in an email, we will be reading emails later on this week. If you didn't get to call in, or maybe you did and you got more thoughts, do that too. thepewtercast@gmail.com. We'll make sure we get those in there. We'll kind of let the dust settle. We'll get the emotion down a little bit. We'll breathe. We'll hear from our head coach at least twice, and maybe some other people before we get in there. Plus, we'll have all new special guests. Ren, why don't you tell the fine folks out there where they can find you on the internet?
You can find me creeping around the tunnels underneath the Parliament with a keg of gunpowder that I stole. I'm doing air quotes from the London Tower. Just because it has the King stamp on it does not mean that he gave it to me. So I just want you to know that the King is not trying to blow up Parliament. It's just me. That's a very brief and probably incomplete story of Guy Fawkes, everybody. Find me.
Remember the 5th of November.
Find me on Twitter at Rendax, REN_DAXT. I am always down to talk Buccaneers football.
And if you guys want to get a hold of me personally, I am at Brent Allen Live across all the social medias. If you want to get in touch with the show, find us at the Pewtercast on Facebook and on Twitter. And like I said, send in your emails, questions, comments, snide remarks. We'll take them all to thepewtercast@gmail.com. Also, please rate and review the show. We will also read those later on this week. We always prefer the 5-star kind, but we'll take any kind that you want to give us. And I want to say thank you to our patrons once again who have been supporting the show. You guys are amazing. Patreon.com/PewterCast if you find out more about that. And once again, thank you to everybody who joined us live, all of you in the Mixler chat room. You guys have been awesome. It's been fun interacting with you guys there a little bit more today. And for those of you, we had a big group today on YouTube watching live with us, Ren. So thanks to everybody who joined us there as well. Our friend Brian from Memphis is all about sending us an email. So can't wait to get to those. Should be fun. But until then, guys, we'll talk to you guys next time. Hey, keep your heads up. There's a lot of football left to go. Go Bucs.